Imagine the scene, a packed stadium, voices echoing in different languages, yet united by a single feeling, expectation, because everyone knew that something big was about to happen. Norway, a team long considered modest, often ignored on the big stage, was there facing the mighty Italy, two-time world champions, determined to change its history. And at the heart of it all, there was not just a brilliant striker. There was a symbol, a name that became synonymous with immediate impact, a player who does not need many words to be recognized, Erling Holland. During the first half, the duel seemed more balanced than many had expected. Italy opened the scoring through Esposito, bringing back the sense that favoritism still belonged to the Azzurri. The Italian supporters celebrated. However, there was something different in the eyes of Norway's number 9. It was not just competition, it was hunger. Hunger not only for goals, but for proving something. It was the hunger to mark territory, to show the world that Norway was not just passing through. They were back, and not as mere spectators. Then, in the 38th minute, the atmosphere on the pitch changed completely. In an apparently simple play, Gianluca Mancini approached Holland. Words were exchanged, gestures emerged, and in an instant, what seemed like a mere territorial dispute turned into real tension, so intense that goalkeeper Donnarumma himself had to intervene to avoid something bigger. It was not just provocation, it was an attempt to destabilize Holland. But that was when something unexpected happened. After the final whistle, with the match already decided, Holland revealed in an interview that in that moment, Mancini had grabbed him from behind, trying to provoke a reaction, perhaps to get him booked, to break his focus, to disrupt his concentration. But the effect was the opposite. Holland looked at him and thought, "Is this all you've got for me? Just this?" And instead of losing control, he felt something awaken. As the striker himself said, "Thank you for the motivation." A few minutes later, he scored not one, but 2 decisive goals. Energy channeled, provocation turned into performance, the essence of a true competitor. And it wasn't just about goals. It was about attitude, about looking the opponent in the eyes and responding on the pitch. Because when Italy tried to control the match, Holland showed that the control was nothing more than an illusion. The second half became a Norwegian spectacle. Antonio Nusa equalized. Holland turned the match around with 2 lightning strikes, and Strand Larsen sealed the score with a 4th goal in the final minutes. Inside the legendary San Siro, the silence of the Italians contrasted with the liberating roar of the Norwegians. Yes, liberating, because it was not just a victory, it was a return. After decades away from the World Cup, Norway was officially back for the first time since 1998. But this match represented more than qualification. It marked the rebirth of a national team, the revival of belief in a competitive future, the beginning of an era where Holland, following in the footsteps of his father, Alf Inge Holland, carries the weight and pride of an entire country, not as a promise, but as a protagonist. But while Norway is living its magical moment on the blue side of Manchester, the path is also being shaped. Because Manchester City, even in a victorious era, does not stop. It does not get comfortable. Planning is constant, and the current target is in Germany, more precisely, in Leipzig. Jan de Moor, just 18 years old, has emerged as the new name stirring up the transfer market behind the scenes. A talent combining speed, aggression, attacking instinct, and a style reminiscent of the French forwards who have dazzled Europe in recent years. Since arriving from Lens, he has delivered nothing less than 3 goals and 3 assists in just 3 matches, and these are not empty numbers. These are impactful performances, moments that break defenses, draw attention, and spark debates. He is not yet Mbappé, but many say he might become someone of that caliber. The reports reveal something even more interesting. He leads the Bundesliga in attempted and successful dribbles. He has the intelligence to make decisions, but also the courage to take risks. And it is precisely this balance that the Premier League giants are analyzing. Liverpool are interested. Chelsea are watching closely. But Manchester City seems the most aligned with his style of play, not only because of his individual quality, but because of his ability to adapt to the tactical systems that the English club demands. And here is the most impressive detail. Leipzig signed him for around 20 million euros. But now, discussions are already revolving around 100 million. That's right. It has quintupled in value within months. And that kind of rise only happens when the talent is real, when the potential is undeniable, when success is just a matter of time. The German press reports that City scouts have been closely monitoring Jan Damour's recent performances, not just analyzing statistics, but studying movements, decisions, and gestures. Because at Manchester City, no one is signed merely for what they do. They are signed for what they can become. Now, stop and think. City is at a moment where they need to renew their attacking line for the future. Holland is the center of the revolution. But who could be the ideal partner? Who could be the player beside him, able to create, accelerate, and destabilize? The club is searching for that answer, and perhaps it lies exactly in Leipzig. Meanwhile, another situation is gaining space behind the scenes. Jeremy Doku, a talent already shining at the Etihad, is going through a spectacular phase. But during the international break, something unexpected happened. After the 1-1 draw between Belgium and Kazakhstan, Doku did not hold back in criticizing his own team. And most surprisingly, he mentioned names like Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, and Thibaut Courtois, questioning the collective performance. But more than pointing out flaws, he revealed something important. Belgium underestimated their opponent. They expected a defensive team, sitting deep, playing long balls. But Kazakhstan surprised them with possession, short passes, and patience. Belgium's response? Weak, slow, without adaptation. And that was when Doku raised a question. Are we truly analyzing our opponents the way we should? This shows maturity, because it is not just about individual talent, it is tactical vision, it is game intelligence. And it is exactly this kind of mindset that Manchester City looks for. Players who, beyond technical brilliance, understand the game, question, evolve. And that is why Pep Guardiola knows Doku's moment is only just beginning. He is not just a speedster, not just a dribbler. He is becoming a central figure. And with the intense sequence of fixtures City will face after the break, he will be more than an option. He will be a protagonist. Nathaniel Brown, a name that, until a few months ago, slipped quietly through headlines, but is now beginning to gain prominence behind the scenes of European football. And it is no coincidence. At just 22 years old, Brown has become one of the most closely observed players in the Bundesliga, especially due to his ability to operate in multiple roles down the left side of the pitch. He is not just a full-back. He is not just a midfielder. He is hybrid. He is tactical, he is modern, and it is precisely this kind of profile that Manchester City are looking for. Since his arrival at Frankfurt, signed for only 3 million euros, few imagined that he would establish himself so quickly. He was not an immediate starter. He did not arrive with star status. But he absorbed the competitive environment, understood the system, shaped himself to the demands of the league. And here lies the difference. He does not merely adapt, he grows. Today, he has become a key figure in the team, decisive in the Champions League, disciplined defensively and creative offensively. He is the kind of player who does not attract attention through brilliance, but through consistency. And consistency is gold in modern football. Frankfurt's sporting director even stated that Brown possesses 3 attributes that cannot be taught: tactical intelligence, natural speed, and refined technique. When we combine these elements, we understand why major clubs have started watching him closely. But there is one detail that changes everything. Manchester City are analyzing not only his current performance, but his potential evolution under the guidance of Pep Guardiola. City have explored this path before. Players like Stones, Ake, Zinchenko, and Rico Lewis, all highly versatile, moldable, adaptable. And with Brown, the possibility goes even further. He can be an offensive weapon on the left, provide defensive support, contribute to tactical build-up from the back line, and, above all, fit into multiple systems. Guardiola does not sign players solely for what they are, but for what they can become within his structure. But the factor that makes this race even more intense is the European interest. Manchester United, Arsenal, and Real Madrid also have representatives monitoring Brown, which means that if City want to secure this talent, they will have to act quickly. Because as we saw in the case of Gvardiol, when a player explodes, time becomes the enemy, and so does price. Brown's trajectory makes us think. Are we witnessing only the beginning of his rise? Or are we facing a new profile of European footballer, one who combines physical strength, speed, intelligence, and versatility? The answer is being written week after week in Frankfurt, but it could very well end up being written at the Etihad Stadium. But to understand City at this moment, everything needs to be connected. These are not just isolated rumors. They are signs. They are clues. The club is silently building what many call the second generation of the Guardiola project, a phase where Holland will be the leader, but not alone. A matured Doku will be the game changer. Foden will be the essence of the homegrown legacy. And around them, names like Jan de Moor and Nathaniel Brown may emerge. Multidimensional, adaptable, young, ready to evolve. And here is the most interesting point. This process is not immediate. It is gradual, built with observation, patience, study. Manchester City do not buy names. They buy ideas. They buy potential. They buy the future. And speaking of the future, we cannot ignore what is happening with Holland. The fury against Mancini, transformed into motivation, revealed a side that many did not know. Everyone knows Holland is a goal scorer. Everyone knows he is competitive. But now, the world has seen that he is also mentally fortified. When provoked, he does not lose control. He channels it. He turns insult into performance. He turns pressure into fuel. And it is exactly this kind of athlete that leads eras. He does not waste energy on unnecessary responses. He responds with goals, with impact, with results. The victory over Italy was more than qualification. It was a statement. It was the announcement that Norway are back, and they are back with relevance. And when we look at Holland, we do not see just a striker. We see a symbol, a role model, a mirror for future generations. But at the same time, Doku emerges as a complementary contrast. While Holland is the cold, calculated, explosive beast, Doku is art, improvisation, and disruption. They are extremes, but they complete each other. One dominates through impact, the other through unpredictability. One finishes, the other creates. One intimidates, the other enchants. And at Manchester City, the plan seems precisely that. To build a duo that not only dominates, but changes the way football is played. Now imagine a scenario. Holland in the center, Doku on the flank, Jan de Moor entering as a new weapon, and behind them, Nathaniel Brown offering defensive balance and tactical depth. Does it sound exaggerated? Perhaps. But it is exactly this kind of thinking that builds historic teams. Teams that do not only win, but shape football. And that is the plan Manchester City are quietly designing. And when that happens, football as we know it may change. More speed, more intelligence, more versatility, and above all, more unpredictability. Because football is not only about the present, it is about what is yet to come. And what is yet to come in Manchester could be monumental. But there is still one missing link in this construction. A detail that may seem discreet, but makes all the difference. Personality, mentality, that which cannot be bought, that which cannot be taught, that which is born with the player. And this is where Holland, Doku, Jan de Moor, and Nathaniel Brown connect. All of them possess strong personalities. They do not hide in decisive moments, and despite being young, they understand that it is not enough just to play. It is necessary to lead. And this mental pattern becomes even more evident when we analyze the behind-the-scenes dynamics of Norway, Belgium, and Manchester City itself. In the case of the Norwegian national team, it is already clear that it is no longer just about technical dependence on Holland. It is about a process of mental, emotional, and strategic construction. It is a team that has learnt to play with purpose. Holland is not just the goal scorer. He has become a compass. The team looks at him and understands what needs to be done. It is not idolatry, it is collective discipline. His teammates know that when he is on the pitch, it is not enough to simply take part. They must match his intensity, and that intensity is not just about running, marking, or finishing. It is about mentality. That silent yet firm standard he imposes on his teammates simply through the way he competes. And this is beginning to spread throughout the squad. A similar situation is happening with Doku in Belgium. Once seen merely as a quick winger, today he is more than that. He has become a voice, not only in his dribbling but in constructive criticism, in responsibility, in demanding accountability. And that carries weight, because when a young player decides to publicly demand performance, focus, and preparation from the national team itself, it means he is ready for another level, not just technically but mentally. And Manchester City knows how to recognize that kind of growth. That is why, internally, Pep Guardiola sees Doku as more than just an attacking asset. He wants to shape him into a complete player. A player who not only attacks, but thinks. Who not only creates, but understands the game. A player capable of looking at the pitch and identifying what is happening. And more than that, being able to verbalize it. And there are clear signs that this process has already begun. In recent training sessions, Doku has started to get more involved in tactical conversations, not just receiving instructions, but discussing positioning, proposing solutions, asking why certain movements work better with specific teammates. That kind of attitude is rare, and it is valuable. If we analyze further, we can also see that Jan de Moor, even though he is not yet a City player, already shows glimpses of this profile. Observers say that despite his young age, he possesses uncommon maturity. He reads the game calmly, makes decisions consciously, does not panic when he loses the ball, does not rush when he has space. His game has rhythm. He reads situations. And that kind of intelligence cannot be taught. It can only be refined. Nathaniel Brown follows the same path. He is not just versatile because he can play in several positions. He is versatile because he understands the function of each position within the team's tactical approach. He knows that as a fullback, he must protect and advance with timing. He knows that as a midfielder, he must alternate between depth and compactness. This level of understanding is what separates a merely adaptable player from a truly intelligent one. And that is exactly what top clubs look for. And when we look at Manchester City, we realize the decisive factor. The club is planning for the post-De Bruyne era, not necessarily an immediate replacement, but a transformation of the team. And this goes beyond signing a traditional number 10. City's football is shifting into an era where the decisive power will not only be concentrated in the central zone, but distributed across the flanks, with players capable of accelerating, creating, and destabilizing opponents. Doku already represents that future. Foden too. Perhaps Jan de Moor, and in another role, Nathaniel Brown might be the next in that line. And this vision explains why City always acts before everyone else. Before these players become established stars, the club seeks talents on the rise, still in development. It is the perfect moment. They are still accessible, moldable, and hungry. This is the kind of profile Guardiola prefers to work with. And then, when we connect all these elements, we see what is being constructed. Holland, the silent authority. Doku, the maturing talent. Foden, the technical brain. Julian Alvarez, the offensive wild card. And perhaps, in the future, Jan de Moor as the creative spark and Nathaniel Brown as the defensive balance. A possible new backbone, a new era. Not merely a continuation, but a recreation. But all this raises a question. What is the central pillar of this reconstruction? The answer lies in what connects them all, a winning mentality. And this became evident in the Holland versus Mancini episode. What for many would have been pure provocation, for him was fuel. It activated what was already there. It did not distract him. It only reignited the flame. And that mentality is infectious. It spreads. It inspires. It influences not just his national teammates, but also his club teammates. And when this mentality enters Manchester City's environment, it transforms the dressing room. It is already doing so. Holland speaks little, but he makes a huge impact. Doku speaks little, but he shows everything through his actions. Foden speaks little, but understands everything. And it is this type of environment that attracts players like Jan de Moor and Brown. They do not want to merely play football. They want to be part of a system that helps them evolve. And that system is in Manchester. And when Guardiola looks at this, he sees more than just young athletes. He sees future leaders. He sees players who can sustain the legacy even after his departure. He sees continuity. And perhaps this is the real story that no one is telling. It is not just about transfers. It is not just about goals. It is not just about statements. They are signs of construction, signs of a new era. And this era is not being built in a hurry. It is being built with purpose. Because great projects do not start when someone decides to sign players. They start when someone decides to plan. And Manchester City is planning, silently, surgically, strategically. And if everything continues to connect the way it is now, soon we will see an even stronger Manchester City. Not just technically, not just tactically, but philosophically. And if everything that is happening on and off the pitch is already changing the way we see Manchester City, imagine when all these pieces finally fall into place. Imagine Norway arriving strong at a World Cup, with Holland leading an entire generation. Imagine a renewed Belgium with Doku, not just as a pacey player, but as a tactical and mental reference. Imagine City's future being built right now, with intelligence, strategy, and vision. If Holland represents impact, if Doku represents unpredictability, if Foden represents the soul, then perhaps Jan de Moor and Nathaniel Brown will be the pillars of this new era that is emerging. Football is evolving, and City wants to stay one step ahead, not just to win, but to shape, to inspire, to show that success is not only about today, but about what is being prepared for tomorrow. And if you have followed this journey up to this point, you know that this goes far beyond a simple piece of news. It is construction, it is history, it is transformation. Now it is your turn to be part of this story. If this content brought you clarity, vision, and excitement about City's future, do not leave without leaving your like. It helps the channel reach more passionate fans like you. And of course, if you are not yet subscribed, take advantage now. Follow every new chapter of this journey, because there is still a lot more to come. Subscribe, activate the notification bell, leave your like, and share with that friend who loves City and likes to understand football beyond the headlines.